Hi, my name is Erin DeFort, and I'm the Vice President of the SnoValley Chamber of Commerce. In every election, we do a candidate forum to introduce the candidates to the voters in every district. And today we have with us Representative Mike Steele, and he is running again for position 2 in District 12. Why don't you give the voters a little introduction to you?
Great. Well, thanks, Erin. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with the SnoValley Chamber of Commerce. My background, of course, I am the CEO of the Lake Chelan Chamber of Commerce. Been running the chamber there for 17 years. I was the immediate past president of the Washington Chamber of Commerce Executives Board of Directors. I have a lot of history with community service, serving in, as the youngest president of Rotary, ever elected in Lake Chelan, was the youngest member ever elected to City Council, did 2 terms on City Council in the city of Chelan. Still very active on the Board of Trustees for the Community Foundation of North Central Washington, and I currently serve as the immediate past president of the Lake Chelan Community Health and Wellness Foundation, or the Hospital Foundation, where we're completing a $44 million project to build a brand new hospital in Lake Chelan. So we're very excited about that. And of course, I am now running for my 4th term in the House of Representatives. I've been representing the 12th Legislative District now for over 6 years. I serve as the ranking member of the Capital Budget. I serve on the Education Committee, which is the K-12 Education Committee in the House, and the Appropriations Committee. So 2 of the 3 budget committees I serve on, and really find that valuable in terms of work related to the legislature. But currently, as the ranking member of the capital budget, I have influence all over Washington State in building capital facilities related to universities, schools, state agencies, forest land, and that kind of thing. So it's really rewarding work that does take me to every corner of the state. I currently represent the largest geographic district in the state, which is just over 9,000 square miles in the center of Washington.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our first question, as Washington moves towards a future of only non-carbon emitting energy, how do you balance the growing need for electricity with the reliability of the grid?
That's a great question. And actually, this last legislative session, we introduced a bill that would do an analysis of the grid to make sure we understood what load capacity looked like. Unfortunately, the governor did veto that bill, so it's likely we're going to try and reintroduce that again in this legislative session. I think the interesting thing about this direction that we are heading is we are very fortunate as a state. We build a lot of our energy policies off the back of the 12th legislative district. Most folks don't realize that currently the 12th legislative district is a zero emitting carbon neutral energy production facility due to our hydropower. So we are literally one of the few places in the country that emits zero carbon when we're producing energy. And it might change a little bit now that we're taking in some of this new part of the district with King and Snohomish counties.
What role, if any, is there for the state legislature to ease growing concerns about affordability, i.e. housing prices, fuel, inflation, et cetera?
Well, it's a really hard thing to put your finger on because the legislature's been working on it for a long time. And I mean, it is really kind of coming to a head. I think we're seeing affordability issues for housing all over the state, not just in the 12th legislative district. I've had several pieces of legislation that I've introduced to address this issue. Most notable is adjusting AMI, because part of the 12th legislative district is really a resort-driven district, and housing prices are extraordinarily high. And so trying to adjust for that AMI down to 120%, I think is going to be a really important thing. So we've introduced that legislation. I've also introduced legislation that would create a public-private partnership, basically allowing for developers to pay sales tax to the state, and then a local jurisdiction, be it a city or a county, would be able to apply for a percentage of remittance. They would use that remittance and be able to build the hard costs around infrastructure. So think sewer, water, curbs, gutters, the things that are sunk costs that developers would typically have to pay for before they could even sell a unit. That way, there would be investment by the public to keep those unit prices down, and the developer would benefit because they're not having to lay out that upfront cost, but they would have to keep those units at an affordable rate. So we're working on it, but I don't think there's one magic solution. I think it really does take public-private partnerships. And going back to my role in the chamber, one of the things that we've done in my own community in Lake Chelan, recognizing affordability as an issue, the chamber has made a $100,000 commitment to affordable housing in our valley to try and figure out how we help our employers buy down the cost of housing. So we're working on it. We've got analysis going. The state legislature has been continually trying to address this issue. And I think it's something we find very important. So we'll continue to work on it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, Washingtonians have become increasingly concerned about community safety. What steps can the legislature take to help in this area?
Oh, talk about a hot button topic, right? As I travel around the 12th legislative district over the years, well, specifically the last couple of years, because the legislature has done, in my personal opinion, a lot to diminish public safety. So we need to go back into session recognizing that we have work to do. I mean, laws that, the Blake decision is a big thing. The Supreme Court said basically that you can be in public and injecting drugs, and that's no longer a felony, it's a misdemeanor. That's a huge issue. I think the inability for police to pursue folks in a high or intense situation is the wrong thing. We need to give our police officers the ability and the resources to do their jobs correctly. And I think the role of the legislature there is to make sure they have the access to education, the access to resources, the access to equipment, to make sure that their jobs are done in a proper way and that the public feels safe. So yes, the legislature is absolutely responsible for some of these public safety issues that we're seeing, and we need to go back into session and fix them.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to wrap up, and you can start with this question. If you had the ability to pass one piece of legislation next session, what would that legislation be?
Gosh, there are just so many issues that face Washingtonians right now. But I would just say that one of the areas that I take very personally and take very seriously and am committed to doing in my work in the legislature is mental and behavioral health. I'm very proud of the work that I did to spearhead the building of a brand new $98 million teaching hospital in partnership with the University of Washington to create a pathway for teachers and a pipeline for professionals in mental and behavioral health. That's super important. I think that we need to continue to work on making sure that those resources are geographically diverse across Washington, meaning we have equity and access in every community. So if I were to pass one piece of legislation that I think is most meaningful, it'd be around mental and behavioral health and access to those services in every community. So it's more of a budgetary issue and making sure that facilities are adequate and that people in every corner of Washington state have access to those things.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell the voter?
Well, I just have been honored to serve in the legislature over these last 3 terms. I look forward to going back. I mean, there's a lot of work left to be done. We live in a beautiful place. Washington State is gorgeous. The 12th legislative district just got more beautiful in this redistricting. So I'm excited to represent the people of the 12th legislative district. I want to continue to do the work on their behalf. And I think it's really important that folks like you all, like the SnoValley Chamber of Commerce and your members, stay engaged in this way. I think sometimes we forget that it is our government. It belongs to us as the people. And I'm really impressed that you have all taken the time to at least give me a forum to speak to all of you and to address some of these questions. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you all in Olympia very soon.
Okay, thank you for coming in. Again, this is Representative Mike Steele, running again for position 2 in District 12. Thank you.
Thank you.